This is part 2. We've got an exciting panel today. We're going to be talking about how do we bridge the digital gap with customer experience? And I know it's a really big area. We have a limited amount of time, but we're going to be doing the best as possible to go through this as quickly as possible. How do businesses navigate this gap? Do we have all the pieces in place with your customer experience? Are you creating a remarkable digital experience worth remembering? My name is Doyle Bueller, and today we're going into part 2 of 2. How do we bridge the customer experience of bridging the digital gap from the Keenfolsk? It's part of a study just published by the Keenfolsk, where they've taken the insights from 59 experts from around the world and created a roadmap going forward to bridge the digital gap in these disruptive, uncertain times. And you can take a look at the study at thekeenfolsk.com/bridge-the-digital-gap. We need a short bit.ly link for that. So we're going to show you how to overcome some common customer experience challenges, build a customer journey for your company, increase customer retention through experience, and dive into what the future holds for the entire customer experience. Now, if you're here on Zoom, then please ensure your mic is muted, but we will have time at the end for some question and answers. So organize your questions now throughout the program, and then we'll have some time rather to talk about them at the end. If you're watching this live or in replay across the socials, please ask your questions along the way in the comments, and we'll answer them as quickly as possible. All right, so today I'm with Xavier Cortadellas, the Keenfolsk CEO of Content and Customer Experience. We're here with Johan from the CX expert and thought leader, Jonas Blad Hansen, advisor, facilitator, speaker, and Talia Wolf, founder and chief optimizers of Get Uplift, consultant and training speaker. And we'll get them to introduce themselves coming up very, very shortly. My name is Doyle Bueller, and I run a strategic digital marketing consultancy based in Australia called Department of Digital. All right, so let's get to know the panel. Briefly tell us who you are and your engagements with customer experience. Xavier, you want to start first?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Thank you, Doyle, and hi, everybody. Okay, my name is Xavier. I'm a customer attention entrepreneur. And what this means, customer attention entrepreneur, let's say that I'm customer attention because I got fascinated by just 16 years old about human interaction, emotional intelligence, psychology, personality profiling, empathy, brain communication model, and then how all these techniques and methodologies can help you to define and create the more powerful skills and abilities that you can have to connect with people, to get intuition to know what the people want. And the more important thing is to articulate your life around a meaningful purpose. So why entrepreneur? Because very soon I identified that the business was just an extension of our psychology. And then with just 18 years old, I started building my first startup, more focused on these user-centric methodologies with pretty good success. And then I continue improving these methodologies through new businesses and then advising another CEOs and leadership teams into how to succeed through having the people always in mind. So until now, I've been, it's around 22 years. I create 11 companies, 7 of them has failed and during the journey, but they gave me the right insights to continue evolving and improving. And during the last years, I opened 4 new companies. Almost all of them are small, medium companies between 1 to 8 million euros turnover. And with one that was acquired during the last year by a big multinational. So today I'm in a new adventure, and I'd say that this adventure recover all these insights and learnings. And I'm in this adventure with my business partner, which is Miguel Machado at the Keenfolsk. So and this adventure aims to disrupt the agency and the consultancy sector with a new and oriented to values, people, and purpose business model. With the business objective of aiming or becoming a 1 billion brand in 2027. In fact, and let me do this announcement and introduction, I think during the following weeks, we are going to launch a new podcast where we are going to be talking about that. We are going to be just sharing in a weekly basis the insights and the learnings that we have in this journey to the 1 billion, I would say, brand. So said that, thank you all, thank you everybody. I hope I'm going to be useful in that specific meeting.
Yeah, no, thank you. Looking forward to it. Johan, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. My name is Johannes C. I'm from Germany. I'm a social entrepreneur and executive consultant. And I've been working in the field of customer employees since more than 25 years. I've been named by Forbes as top 20 global influencer on customer experience. And besides that, yes, I go very deep into the culture to make connections possible between employees and customers to really empower. I now also started a social impact initiative to partner with thought leaders like you, so we create a better world we live in.
Excellent. Thank you and welcome. Talia, would you like to go next?
Sure. So I'm Talia Wolf. I am the founder of Get Uplift, and we do conversion optimization based on psychology and emotional targeting. So over the past 10 years, we've developed a methodology that helps tap into people's decision-making processes. The idea and the whole base of it is to go beyond knowing your customer as their age, their gender, or their geographical location, and to really understand what motivates people, their pains, their hesitations, their concerns, the things that are keeping them up at night, and then what their desired outcomes are. We dive into emotional intelligence and into really understanding the psychological profiles of your customers in order to create a better experience. So once we understand how people make decisions, what emotional triggers are affecting their decisions, we can then create high converting landing pages, funnels, email sequences, websites, the lot. So it's all based on just understanding people and going beyond behavior and really diving into the emotion and psychology of people.
Perfect. Thank you. Excellent. And Jonas.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Doyle. Really excited. Yeah, I have my own company here in Denmark, in Copenhagen, called Immerse. So that means, that's a Latin word meaning turned around. And what I do is that I help organizations understand how technology, especially social technologies, they can help them become more human. And by that I mean, how can organizations become more human in order to improve the employee and customer experience? And I mean, I think I can take it back to since I was 8 years old, actually, when I got my first Atari in the 80s. I've always been fascinated by technology and what it's capable of. So when I started in the corporate world, I instantly started to develop a social media platform in 2010, where we tried to get frontline employees to share their stories about what they do to deliver a great customer experience, actually. So I quickly learned how important the organizational culture is in order to delivering a great customer experience. I always say that culture is really keen on eating customer experience strategies for breakfast as well. So what I basically do is I deliver some keynotes and courses about AI and its impact on leadership, communication, and what I call return on experience. Then I advise on social media strategy internally and externally, and also engagement strategies. So
Wow.
yeah, and I think we all work in a world. This world is, or this field is a place where we don't have many answers that we can carve in stone, right? So I'm constantly learning. So I'm really looking forward to learn here as well.
Wow. Yeah, no, fascinating. What an amazing panel we have, eh? Like, wow. I'm just blown away by the expertise here. So let's get started here. We do have a quick little video that we wanted to play as well by Johannes, a program that he's been working on, and then we'll get into the questions from there. So once again, welcome everybody. If you do have questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the chat, and we'll go through them towards the end, or throughout the program as well. So please, if you want to ask a question now through chat, go ahead. We may not be able to actually get to it until the end, but we're more than looking forward to that. All right, so hopefully you can see that and hear that. Can everybody hear that okay?
Yeah.
Good. Welcome to our job to be done, the podcast.
Yeah.
The difference in the world we live in. My name is Johannes. I'm a digital consultant and I'm today in Barcelona with Xavier and Johan. Well, in the world that we are living, I think that it's
quite important to understand where we stand in the human perspective. I think innovation and technology is changing.
All right, cool. So that's a podcast by Johannes. Thank you. So that episode's available now, I take it?
Yes, our job to be done. We just started today the full English channel. We already have the first episodes there. Xavier is in there, as you've just seen. And what we do is, at our job to be done, as I said, we always hack the challenges of the world we live in.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, no, and that's an important part too, is that how do we actually, understand what's going on? And today, in the sort of the middle of the COVID pandemic, we kind of have to decide, is customer experience something that we can actually improve on, or we kind of keep it the same, and that sort of thing. And I actually wanted to, before we get into that, I wanted to run a quick poll for everybody so that we can see what's how everybody's going. But let's launch this. So do you think the customer experience gap is growing or getting smaller? So if you have like 5 seconds, it'll take, we only get like 8 seconds or a bit longer. Take a look, fill it in. Do you think the customer experience gap is growing or getting smaller? And then we'll get our panel to talk in on these as well. And we'll run it for a few more seconds. It looks like one's running pretty high. All right, 66, 70% voted. Anybody else want to vote before I end it? All right, so let's get to our panel then. Xavier, you'd like to start us off. What do you think the customer experience gap is growing or getting smaller?
Okay, I think I think one size doesn't fit all. That's the reality, and probably to help the audience to understand this situation, let me give some background to the audience. So CX is I would say that is a concept that is in the market during the last 40 years. So during that time, I think the IVO started 40 years ago with the design thinking methodologies, thinking on how can we design and produce product and services to bring to people's life. But the reality is that during the first 30 years, the CX industry was a completely niche, where just a few agencies like Frog, Smart Design, and others were providing this kind of services, and just a few companies like Hewlett-Packard, Philips, and others were investing on this kind of services. So the disruption came 10 years ago, when with the App Store, with cloud services, with new platforms to engage with consumer and automated systems to go beyond the hyper-personalization, being able to start conversations with the consumer, all this start. So now in that context, where is CX? CX is not anymore about creating product and services to bring to people's lives. This goes beyond. Now it's about creating a continuously and evolutive conversation with consumers, solving their problems in a meaningful way, and creating what we call is the lifetime value. So this is the disruption. So today, considering this context, you have two types of companies or organizations. You have companies like Netflix, Tapos, or Alonlist that have a unique selling proposition based on CX, with happy, empowered, and committed employees that offer what the users right now has fixed as I would say, a standard experience. So now you have the rest, which are big multinationals and small companies that are trying to survive. We are not talking about COVID. This is pre-COVID. So organizations with big structures, instead agile teams, with some segmented CX visions, instead a culture based on CX. And let me give you a clarification. It's not the same having a CX department than having a culture based on CX. So with rigid processes, instead dynamic and oriented to test processes, and from a personal point of view, a leadership that is not ready to guide the organization through this new era of change. So looks like we have a big gap. The reality is that this just start, because if you see the stats that we have in the market regarding the job positions, 40% of the future job positions are going to be created, are still to be created. So an AI will continue shifting the world until it become a commodity. So probably the question is not if you have a bigger or a smaller gap. The question from my point of view is, are you ready for what is coming? Because the following 10 years, the market is going to be disrupted and the organizational landscape is going to be completely dramatically changed. Typically, you have on top, big multinationals. On the bottom, you have the small companies. And in the middle, you have a big range, a gray area with a lot of companies that are in the middle that right now, due to the crisis, due to the technology evolution, due to this context, they are going to be forced to go up and down. And all of us know what does it mean going down for an organization with a big structure. So the question is, are you ready for the following 5-10 years? The COVID is just accelerating the process, but it's not the real issue that they are going to have during the following years. So that will be my insight.
Wow, fascinating. Talia, what do you think?
I have to agree. I think it's happening. It's already happening. It's already in the world. Things, the job titles, the things that are, the positions that are being hired for. And I also see, I think to take this a step back is that if in the past, companies had to think about how they can create a better experience and how would this better experience look like and kind of maybe surprise people. These days, customers and prospects, they expect these relationships. They expect this experience. And if you don't have it, then it's something that they will not even consider as a competitor or something that they would even consider as a solution to use. It's not about competing only with your specific competitor next to you, but with everyone in the market, because everyone's grabbing your attention. We're seeing 40,000 messages a day, pings and pongs and dings and dongs, and everything is kind of hitting your phone and your timeline and everything. So at the end of the day, the companies that are going to have to grab your attention and stick out in the timelines are going to be the ones that really disrupt that and are going to be the ones that stand out and make it about you, personalize it about you, and speak to you and make it relatable. And I think that while it may seem like the gap is big or that it's harder to do, the more niche you get, the more specific you get with your clients, you understand who they are. I really like the sentence, if you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. So the more you, really go and get specific about who you are speaking to and their story and who they are and the fact that there's a person behind the screen, and you create that experience that's directed specifically for them, the easier it's going to get. And actually, I agree with you, Xavier, because at the end of the day, the small businesses, the small companies are going to be the ones that are going to be far more agile and quicker to adapt and create things rather than the slow organizations with all the bureaucracy and all the time that it takes to move things within an organization. When you're a small company of 5, 6, or even 20 people, it's so much easier to make a decision and execute the following day. So while it may seem like it's bigger and maybe harder or more frustrating to figure out, once you do the research and you get to know the person on the other side, executing on it as a small company is actually easier and more accessible, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Johannes? Oh, go ahead.
Yes, it's me first. Yeah, here.
Sorry.
Want to fight for it or what? The topic has been going on since actually more than 30 years, to be fair, because we were in a development where the companies were focused on when we started just producing products, and then it was getting all the products that they were producing were getting more and more customer connected, like in terms of how they were distributed, but even more and more in the last couple of years, how they are connecting to us as a human. Not only the product itself, like the smartwatch that you have that connects to your laptop and to your iPhone, but also in terms of the data, the insights that we have, the tech opportunities. So there's a constant rise in terms of getting more technological, and actually also in terms of opportunities you have to connect with customers, with people, yeah, and that's not going to end. That's getting more and more dramatic, yeah. Regarding the gap, in the end, there's there's a lot has to do with the expectations of the people, yeah, because in the end, everyone is able to cross compare not only the product, but even if he thinks about, oh, I want to have a burger, he remembers right away how it was when it was tasting it at Burger King, if he's standing in front of McDonald's, and he can cross compare all the time, yeah. And if he's ever experienced a good taste, a good experience, a good delivery, he's expecting it again from everyone in the end, yeah. So that puts a lot of pressure back to companies, and where companies then are most of the time struggling is if you understand this whole topic, customer, getting back to CRM, user experience, customer experience, all these points, all these different things, they're actually playing together from a technical point of view. They're actually playing together from a data point of view, yeah. But there's a lot of companies who are still having these separate, because the question is, what does it mean for all my data translated down? What does it mean for all the tech translated down to the customer? And a main thing is, or actually the key thing is then, in the end, you need to be customer driven. You need to be people driven in the end, in the organization. So that's why I'm focusing with a lot of my work, helping to translate basically down for the people down there in the company. What do you have to do to be customer driven and to be people driven in the end? Because that's the complexity you have to basically translate down to the daily doing, that you can play like a team together. That's the challenge.
Very good, thank you. And Jonas, what about you? Is the gap growing or getting smaller?
Definitely growing, I would say. So for some companies, or for most companies, I guess you could say for companies like Amazon and others, they kind of figured out how these things work, because they have figured out a way to find out the data they need to deliver a great experience. And I think you could also say that Amazon and others, they are actually the reason why people's expectations have been on the rise. So today I would say you don't have this unique selling point anymore where you can say, okay, I have the cheapest price, or I have the best store, or whatever. Now you have to perform on all these different selling points. Thanks to Amazon, because there should always be a reason why it would go anywhere else, because it's so convenient.
So we can't blame Amazon then? Is that what you're saying? Or we can?
I don't know how to put that exactly, but I think they set some standards.
Standards,
for other companies. And then we have, you could say, so we have some expectations, and then the ability to deliver. But we also have some complexities. So, for instance, now we're speaking a lot about artificial intelligence and so on. So we have to figure out, so where is it important to have, you could say, high tech, and where do we have high touch? Where do we still need, or where is the human touch still important and relevant? Where does it make a difference? Because AI can do something really, really, you can deliver a personalized experience, but a human can deliver a really personal experience. And I think Johannes, the example you had with McDonald's actually McDonald's is a good example, because they have figured out a way to find the balance between high tech and high touch, because they've removed this friction-filled order experience where you have to stand in line and order, which is confusing for everyone. Now you order at a computer, and then there's a person who will deliver your delivery. And I think that is a way to figure out where does a human actually make a difference today in the customer experience thing. So yeah, I think that's something we have to figure out, the balance between humans and technology, and then definitely behavior change is extremely important inside the organization today. And I think learning about data and what this means to us, and the ability to deliver customer experience is becoming increasingly important as well.
Excellent, thank you. And does any of our other panel have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think
is
the
gap growing. Why?
yeah.
How?
I think Doyle, answering well, continuing the conversation, I think the reality, we can be here talking about these fancy words about customer experience, talking about that is required to evolve and go to the next level to be and compete in this digital economy. The reality is that now most of the companies are not there. They don't have the pain. And the reason is because right now the market is being disrupted by small companies. Small companies that they start in 2 years, boom, $40 billion valuation. So, and these companies are not still challenging the big multinationals, because Hewlett-Packard, LG, Samsung, all these big are still in these board meetings. You have conversations like there is a wish which is evolving, but there is not the pain. So going to talk to about customer experience with a CEO is most of the times really difficult, because they understand about business. Technology is closer, and thanks to technology we can go there and talk about experience. But the reality is that the market is not evolving with the speed that is required. So I think, but this is going to happen as Johannes was introducing. I think this is now is the worst is coming, because for this right now all the medium companies are being challenged by the small ones, but the top ones are still there. And I'm not talking about Netflix, Amazon, that they went quick, go to the top with a new value proposition based on experience and a culture base and all that we said. We're talking about all the established multinationals that they are there, that still they think that this is a wish thing. This is in the wish list, not in the must to do list. So I hope that during the following years, and I'm sure this is going to be changing. And but the reality is that this is going to be affecting at the end to these top multinational agencies, companies. So we need to be there and help to evolve, because otherwise they're going to disappear.
So who owns this then? Who owns the customer experience? Is it the CEO? Is it the marketing? Is it, you know, who's supposed to take charge of this?
The reality is that today is completely, you have a really diverse context. You have organizations where you don't have CX, is marketing that is applying design thinking methodologies in certain meetings and certain initiatives. Then you have companies with CX, but a segmented CX, which means you can have a department of CX, but if you don't have the power to lead the rest of the departments or the reporting to the CEO, forget about it. I think you can move forward the organization. And I saw hundreds of initiatives, excellent initiatives, that are completely stuck because they don't have the support from the CEO, because they have the support from the CEO, but they don't really have the support from the CEO, because they need to convince the people from systems to move to the next level, and they are engineers, and sometimes it's really difficult to move them to another level. So CX is not having these leadership positions. I found a few companies with this kind of an approach. So the only way to approach this is with a culture based on CX. All the departments, operations, design, marketing, business, all of them should have this approach. Let's talk about Zappos. Zappos is all of you know, is a shoes shop that they start creating this customer service. I think the mindset and the value proposition was based on customer service and customer experience. So all of them has, from the board, across from the board, CEOs to the employees, all of them has this mindset. So you can go to the customer service people asking for one shoes and ask them for having a burger, and they're going to buy the burger for you, and they're going to bring to your home the burger. So this is real customer experience. This is empathy. This is engagement. This is connection across all the different touch points. But in these kind of examples, there are few. So I think this is but the context is really diverse. And the reality is that we are still, CX is not still a relevant position and a relevant competence in most of the boards of the multinationals.
So can we see that becoming more the focus, where we've got a specific person responsible for it, or a team, or it's not just kind of a side project? It's like it's embedded within the structure of the company.
I think
what I can say is I'm not working with companies who don't have a responsibility for employees and customer related thinking pretty much up in the upper management, or who are willing to build it. Yeah, because if you just have it as a side, or if you're just thinking in tools and so on, you won't really get the traction to move it into a direction which is really positive. And I think that's a key part. Like, okay, they because it was so tool driven, like CRM and so on. Yeah, over the times, it's fragmented, and then a part is sitting, yes, also with different initiatives. But in the end, it needs to be a holistic thinking and acting for the whole organization, and that really has to do with going through all that and understanding that what we can't just talk about people. We really have to do something to build with people for people in the end. Yeah, and I personally think I agree that there's not that many who have it sitting at the CEO, but that's really a question right now out of COVID also. After the lockdown, what are they going to learn? Yeah, because in the end, it's not rocket science that you have to put it as a priority, and based on this priority, you have to basically, you have to make it, as I said before, translate it down for the people, and then it's like a sailing ship going in that direction. And that's a clear decision you have to make. And whether companies are willing to take this priority or not is going to be a huge filter in the end for the future, I believe.
Yeah, Jonas, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's, I really agree with Xavier and Johannes that I mean, it's a mindset thing. It's not a tool thing. We won't solve this with the newest shiniest AI tool. And I think it's you could say that getting this right is a mix of figuring out, I've tried to describe that as what I call the return on experience, where you have a mix of, how proud is an employee, how engaged are employees actually at work, who are the influencers at your workplace who can actually drive some behaviors, and what are your key behaviors in the business, and what are your value drivers. So where are the moments where you deliver where you should deliver a great employee customer experience, and what are the outcomes you want to see? I think these things are something you have to figure out, and they're not placed in a certain department, but it's something you have to work on together. And it is a kind of a triangle where you work with the marketing department on the one side, setting the right expectations, with the sales team on the other side, being able to figure out what should the customer service look like, and in the internal part, the employee experience, how do we create the right framework so that people can actually deliver a great experience.
So it all needs to be balanced. Talia, what do you think? Who should be owning this?
Well, I completely agree with Jonas, and I think that one thing that I would add is that one of the biggest issues the organizations has is the silos of different departments in businesses working in silos. You have the dev, you have marketing, you have customer success, you have sales. They're all working in their own thing. They all have their own research. They all have their own things, and they don't really connect as a company together to create this customer experience. And once you start kind of getting everyone together around a table, and it sounds superficial, but it is just that. It's about bringing all these departments together, sharing their knowledge. It's about customer success, telling people and telling all departments, including the developers, including product, what people are saying, what they're frustrated about, what their pains are, and then also marketing communicating what they're hearing, what developers are communicating. Once you have everyone around the table talking about these things, it reduces the amount of work that everyone's doing separately, and it also brings everyone into one space and one mindset, because when everyone is in the same mindset and we have the same customer in mind, and we know what the pains are and we know what the desired outcomes are, then we can start talking about the tools and the AI and the machine learning and all the buzzwords, because that comes way later. First, you need to get everyone on the same page, and you need to get people communicating and working with each other.
Fascinating.
Can I add one thing to that?
Yeah, please.
That reminds me of a case we have here in Denmark in a smaller scale, actually. But I think one of the reasons why we are so focused, or we are so silo-oriented today, and we have so many KPIs we have to deliver on, that makes us, that gives us some kind of a tunnel vision. There's a company in Denmark called 3. It's a mobile company. they have a call center where they removed all the KPIs from the employees. Employees in the call centers, they are measured by how long does a call take, how many lift ups do you have in a phone with a phone and so on, how many calls do you have a day and so on. So they removed that and they just replaced that by key behavioral indicators. So they said the most important thing when you have a call is to be curious. And then have a good, and then make sure that you follow up on what you've been talking about before you say goodbye. And then they coach these people 3 times a day, where they talk about how good they've been doing these things. I think that's a way to remove the tunnel vision and make sure that people can act and do the right things actually.
Yeah, I love that. Being curious, right? Because if you're not, then what's the point?
Yeah, they
then you are.
Yeah, they increase the sales page on that.
Yeah, you're almost worse than an AI because we have the capacity to be curious, right?
Yeah.
Well, we've actually had cases where we've had entire teams from like developers, product, and sales actually read through chat transcripts. So we've had them go over that stuff and just realize what people are saying. And it also, obviously, it improves the product, but it again puts everyone on the same page and it gets everyone to be empathetic to the other team and the things that they're trying to achieve.
The human side of customer experience, right? We cannot forget that.
I think one thing, though, I think this is excellent because at the end it's all about reframing the current mental anchors that all the employees have. And I think if you go, let's imagine one engineer, and an engineer is studying 5 years engineering, then goes to, Hewlett Packard and start designing printers. If you ask him, what do you do every day? He's going to answer, I'm engineering, I'm designing printers. But he's not telling, I'm helping HP to grow to the next level. I don't have any common purpose. And all of us, we're talking about the same. We need a purpose and we need to share one unique purpose. That's the only way to achieve these objectives. So is a more meaningful purpose. It's not talking about silos. It's not talking about cementing what you're doing. Is pushing for the same objective. So, but this is challenging because you need to reframe these mental anchors. You need to remove existing beliefs and you need to help people to evolve having this purpose.
Yeah, very well said. All right, well, let's keep moving on here. We want to get to, we'd love to be here all day. I'll be completely honest. I'm loving the topic and the conversation, but let's move on to question number 2. And I'm going to send out a quick little poll to everybody. How will the customer expectation evolve? So everybody who's watching, please click into what do you think in terms of how will the customer expectation evolve? Will it evolve? If only what businesses propose to the customers evolve too. It will become higher influenced by new technologies. It will not evolve, it's steady, or I'm not really concerned.
I love how this question is framed around like art imitating life, or life imitating art.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're not really concerned, then maybe you shouldn't be on this, or maybe you should stick around for the after show. You should be concerned. All right, so how many do we have left? 60%, come on. A few more people, let's get in there, get your vote in there, because that's going to be a focus next. And as I said before, if you do have a question or comment, please put it in the chat box so that we can go through it at the end of the program as well. All right, so I'm going to end the poll. And it looks like customers' expectations will consistently evolve and become higher influenced by new technologies. I think that was cut off, but I'm not sure what the end had to say. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Why do you agree?
I think obviously I think there's only the best company, the company that delivers the best expectation will set the standard in the future, because you can shop anywhere today if that's what you like to do, for instance. And I think we are becoming more and more impatient. So we demand a frictionless customer experience. So I think it will evolve in terms of delivering a frictionless experience in the future, and a very, very personalized experience based on AI, but also a very personal experience based on being able to deliver the human touch at the right you could say moment, in the right moments.
You could blame Amazon again if you want.
Let's blame Amazon.
Right now, that's true. Yeah.
So they've created then the frictionless customer experience, or 90% of the frictionless customer experience, or
Yeah,
what?
I think you could blame it. There are a lot of different examples. I would say I love to fly with Scandinavian Airlines, for instance, because they are able to deliver the best frictionless flying experience from each, for instance, compared to Ryanair. I'm actually willing to pay more for that.
Except when they stop.
Right now.
When the airplane
Sorry, I
lands, that's when you want friction, right?
Yeah.
I guess my
Sorry, I'm
question
an
is though,
ex-pilot,
why do you choose Scandinavian Airlines? And I think, I mean, okay, so what is the reason behind saying I prefer to pay more but fly Scandinavian Airlines? And I think that this is all part of these companies know exactly who they're speaking to, and they've done the work. They've done the little things that might seem so annoying to us, but they know what to look at. They know what to tell us to do. They know what to tell us to expect, especially with airlines, which we all know is a terrible experience. So, and the fact that you live in Denmark and you prefer to fly Scandinavian airlines is amazing, because I live in Israel and I would never fly an Israeli airline because their customer experience sucks. It's terrible. Everything from the through and through, it just sucks. And but this is about me looking at other experiences, because I have flown in Scandinavian Airlines and I have flown in Air Canada and other places and other airlines, and I've experienced different things and different different experiences. And you can tell who has taken the time to think about every single thing you do, from the getting to the airport to the moment you leave. And I think that's where expectations evolve, because it's not just about what we're seeing around us, it's what we're experiencing day to day. And the more companies, I mean, as we said, technology and human behavior, they're all kind of meddling now. It's all becoming one. We expect things to be on our phone, on our Apple Watch, in front of us. If I'm using my phone, I get excited when it suddenly appears on my desktop screen. Like, I love the frictionless stuff, but the thing that excites me the most is when I send out an email to a company saying this isn't working, and within seconds the CEO answers me or someone replies immediately. So I feel like our expectations are evolving because of the technology, but they're mostly evolving because we want more personalized experience. We want that moment of connecting with someone person to person, relating with them, and feeling like, even though the world is getting bigger and bigger and more technological, and we're further apart with each other, like COVID, for example, we're all in quarantine, or we're in quarantine, but there's amazing ways to stay connected. And when a company does do that, take that extra mile to connect with us on a personal level, even if it is through automation, it feels better. And that's where my expectations evolve, and I expect it from everyone else.
Nice. So what comes after?
Well, a key question is this, I believe, sorry for that. A key question is, in the end, because the technology is rising, the opportunities are rising, what do you use this technology for? I mean, we had before also the question, the term, I always call it special effects. Like, is this just all these gadgets something? Yes, it's exciting, and you're using it to experiment. That's fine, or you're using it to be cool. But do you actually use the right of these tools and actually to make a difference for the people out there? Yeah, and for also for your team members to make a difference. So do you really? Because if we think about when we started with CRM 25 years ago, we were already saying every touch point is a touch point. So independent, if it comes from marketing, if it comes from sales, if it comes from PR, if it's on my iPhone, the screen that's not working, the picture, everything is a touch point. But to be honest, how many companies are really living that? How many companies are really, really doing that in the end? Yeah. And if you want to have that seamless experience in the end, you have to make exactly these details. You don't do artificial intelligence things just because they're artificial intelligence, they're cool. You use them only if they drive value for the customer and for your team members to build that.
Yeah, and I think I think probably are both now, because it's I completely align Johannes, and all the insights that you're raising is completely right. I think it's a mix and a balance between technology is influencing customer experience, and at the same time, customer experience is influencing technology. With the rise of new technologies and we are looking for new ways to approach and provide this excellent customer experience. And you can see the evolution, because we come from a more humanistic era where we had this more stronger human interaction. We bought in everything in stores near you. Probably always the same, having a friendship with the owner. We bought travels and through, I remember before, travel agencies. If you lost like suitcase, you go to talk face to face with the employee of one airline. If we want a taxi, we call to somebody to request taxi. And I remember that time, our first iPod, when we were to this Apple era, with the nicest employees you ever seen. It was amazing. And all of us, we really appreciate this connection. So now it's another different era. It's more convenience, and I want it now, as Talia and Jonas were mentioning. I think now you buy almost everything online. You can receive it in less than 2 hours. You can buy tickets from everything through websites and apps. You can, if there is any incidents, you can talk with a chatbot, and then it solves immediately. And if you want a taxi, you request it in a few seconds. So I think the evolution, the experience and technology are evolving together. And you can see that right now, consumer has at hand several tools to have everything in an easiest and I would say fast pace. So, but the thing is that what is coming, because right now we are talking on the how it's going to evolve this customer experience. Right now, and I was listening to a podcast a few weeks ago, they were talking about a new trend, which is human mode. That makes sense because we come from a humanistic era where you have this kind of a human interaction, and now we are in a efficient ecosystems to provide correct, or let's say great experiences. That means I want it now and fast, and I want it to receive it in less than 2 hours. So what does it mean? That right now, what is next? Now machines are gonna go closer to the human behavior. So what does it mean? Let's say one example, voice assistants. I think voice assistants is the next evolution. I think this is gonna become the game changing. And you have Alexa, Siri, Cortana, and Google Smart Assistants. That, by the way, we should ask Google to have a more creative name. But we have all these voice assistants, and then you can see that they're already testing with celebrities, with people that has more engagement with people. So now brands are going to be connecting with people through a voice, through a tone, which is amazing. So you're going to engage with somebody that is talking to you, and I listen, a few examples are amazing. And what does it mean? That the brands are going to change from something to someone. And this is a completely new era, a new customer experience, I would say, game. So I think both are playing together. Voice assistants arrives to solve things for consumer. So it's technology that is thinking on the experience, and at the same time, is the way around. Voice assistant is going to improve people's life, all together, go.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think though that there's the expression "wag the dog," tail wagging the dog, or the dog wagging the tail? Is this something that the people deep into AI and customer experience are pushing, or are customers demanding this or expecting it too? Right? Is it something that the customer is expecting? I want instant gratification, and I want it now, and you better deliver to me. Or is it, hey, wait a sec, we can create these apps and we can create this software that actually allows you to get stuff right away? Like, what do you think? Are we wagging the dog or dog wagging the tail?
I think the world is moving by entrepreneurs, and I think entrepreneurs. If you are a smart entrepreneur, you have this mix between both. So and now there are no barriers to launch a new company, a new startup, and if you have the understanding of customer experience and technology, there are no barriers. The only barrier that exists right now is you, and not you though. It's you it means that now the sky's the limit. So if you are smart and you can control both skills and both competences, you have the keys to succeed and bring something that is useful for the consumer, because should be, otherwise wouldn't succeed.
Yeah. What else? Do you guys think that it's the wag the dog or dog wagging the tail? Customer or business?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I think it's both. As Xavier says. I found a great example once from Booking.com, who figured out they made, I think they did 300,000 surveys from their customers, and they have tried to plot out where do we have some basic experience where you have to just deliver, a clean toilet seat and so on in the hotel, and where can you actually make a difference. And I think so you have some opportunities to just deliver an experience that is expected from people, but you also have some areas where you can actually create experiences where your brand is being experienced as something special, I would say. And so that again,
it takes some listening and some doing, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree on that. And I think that's where a lot of companies are also failing, because it sounds so easy to listen, but you have to truly listen, look, and also discuss that in the team. What is exactly the expectation of the customer, and what is you have to also focus and score where to invest there. If, for example, we have a huge electronics in Germany shops, and when they started, they were expecting, and I was advising them, they were expecting like now when we go online, everyone would expect, because all our consultants within the shops are so busy that they can make a reservation. They were just assuming, because these people were busy, that their customers in the end were expecting that before they come to shop, they make a reservation. But in the end, almost no one used it. Yeah. So they were building all this feature with doing reservations in the end, but they were not asking people. They were just assuming things. Yeah. And that's in the end what makes a difference. Also, if you already have data, and if you need to go deeper, then go deeper and use all this in the end to find the right sweet spot where you can make the difference.
Thank you. All right, cool. So yeah, go ahead.
It's also what we got used to during the last years, right? So it was completely normal just to wait for things, and now every time things get faster. Now you go to Amazon, and like within a day, sometimes you have your things, right? So then when you want to go back from that to something that sends by a normal post and it arrives in 3 weeks, then you need to come up with another, let's say, advantage or something. So maybe people would be willing to buy something from AliExpress that arrives in 2 months, but it's dirt cheap, and still probably the same product you can't find on Amazon. It's exactly the same product, but it's going to be here in 2 days, but at twice the price. So I guess it's just then where the competition comes in. So
yeah, that's a great comparison.
Just the advantage, and also people get so used to those new services. This is example of a guy complaining about the internet on the plane being so slow. Like literally 20 minutes earlier, he didn't even know that there was Wi-Fi on the plane.
Yeah.
So
there's a comedian. There's a comedian who does a great routine on that.
Yeah.
You're flying at 30,000 feet and you have internet. What more do you want from life? All right. No, thank you for that. Let's keep moving on. We're doing a little bit over time, but I'd love to continue and try to push through all these questions, because I think that we've got some fascinating discussions. So number 3 is how to deliver excellent digital customer experience. And I would like to start with another poll as well. Poll number 3. So let's get everybody to participate. How will you deliver an excellent digital customer experience? Choose as many as needed. Number 1, by understanding who your customers really are and creating a digital customer experience based on emotional connection, by activating MarTech stack, by creating more opportunities, or I don't have a clear idea. And if you answer number 4, you need to stay on after this. We've got a training course for you. All right. It's looking like by understanding who your customer, it's not always A, is it? By understanding who your customers really are and creating a digital customer experience based on emotional connection. So emotions win, it looks like. Do you guys agree?
I think probably it goes beyond that now, because you have probably to deliver a great customer experience, you need to control, I would say, 5 main pillars. First, you need to start with the engage. Preparing a brand. What is your brand purpose? And this is, I would say, the cornerstone. So you need to find something that connect with people through values. This is really important. This is the starting point. Let me give you an example. Inspire people to do things that inspire them, so that together we can change our world. This is the purpose of Simon Sinek. I really like it. And you can create a culture around this statement. Another one, I design beautiful but practical baby clothes because I want to make mothers' lives easier. This is Malamut. This is a small company. I'm promoting small companies too. So all these purposes are the starting point to create a culture, which is the second step. Attract people, and not all the people, the right people, creating a culture around that purpose and that values. Internally should be the reason to fire and the reason to hire people. And at the same time, culture is a really difficult thing to set up. There are a lot of people that has culture, and there are a lot of people that say that has a culture, which is a huge difference. And internally, you need to use that culture to consistently define every single activity and action and process according with this culture. But externally, once you have the purpose, you have the value, and you have this rationale that makes you communicate from you. Why are you waking up every day? So you need to communicate this in a consistently way across all the different touch points. So we have brand purpose and then culture, but this is not enough. Then we need to empower communication through the right technology. So technology is the third one. You need to capture data, using data as a center of decision, moving the conversation to an own ecosystem, connecting an offline touch points with online touch points, hyper-personalizing the communication, expanding the number of touch points, and basically solving the problems and interests. So technology is an important piece, but it's not the last. We have processes. Be agile, fundamental. Now, if you go to a big multinational, you ask to redesign the website because you need to do a user-centered website design, you're going to spend 6 months to launch the website. This is a huge crash. We need to be agile. We need to create teams and processes that are able to launch in a weekly basis whatever you want to test and learn from the test to finally launch to the market something that is powerful and is matching consumer interests. So, and finally, you have the right strategy. So you need to define the right strategy to prioritize all the activities that you're putting on place. So I would say to create a unique customer experience, you need brand purpose, culture, the right technology, the right process, and the right strategy.
Very detailed. Yeah. What else? What else do we need to include to deliver customer experience? Jonas, do you want to go?
Yeah, Xavier said a lot of things already.
He's a smart guy.
Let me think. I think. Let's see. What can I add to that? Yeah.
You can be aligned, and that's all.
Yeah, that's it. We can shut the show down. We've got all our answers we need.
No, I think if we should let me see. I think. Well, first of all, the emotional connection. So what figuring out. Where are the moments of truth? Where can we make a difference? Where do we know what people need to feel and want to do in these different moments that matters to the customers in the journey? Then again, back to the frictionless experience. So how can we actually create a frictionless and more coherent experience across our channels when we talk digital? And I think then it's also a question about how can we create the right framework for our employees to better serve our customers. But it's also, when we go into the digital discussion, it's also a matter of, how do we actually organize in order to develop a great digital solution? Because what you experience when you want to build the best the best possible experience for customers, you will often experience that that's just not possible because you are working in the organization that you're working in. They have some processes that makes this impossible. So a good example for that is the, I think it was Brian Solis who showed that in his book some years ago about American Airlines who tried to build who had a web page where people could book tickets. It was a awful page, and there was a customer who came up with a new example on how easy it could look and how easy it would be if you just make these small changes on the web page. And then there was an employee who actually wrote back and said, yeah, we know that this is what we need to do, but unfortunately due to our complex organization, that's not possible. and he got fired afterwards. But I mean, that is also something we need to think about. And then again, I mean, figure out, what is it that we want to measure on? And I think one of the reasons why some organizations really suck at customer experience is that they measure on the wrong things. And that makes the CEO the last to know and the last to be able to act on things that are happening. So combining being able to listen to data but also listen to anecdotal feedback from employees is really important. And then again, back to responsibilities and the decision-making process. So how do we actually organize around this, and do we have to do something with the organizational structure in order to deliver on this is also important.
Yeah, no, I love what you say about the moments of truth. Obviously, that's something that really needs to be defined as you get into it for each of your customers. But Talia, what do you think? Like, how do you deliver an excellent digital customer experience?
Well, I definitely want to expand on some of the things that that have been said here, because we are living in a very technological world, and thankfully we are able, so we don't have to be like American Airlines and say, well, it's not impossible, sorry, it's impossible. But the fact, so Xavier, you mentioned testing, and I think that is so spot on. Like, a lot of the things, we run thousands of A/B tests when we work with clients, and one of the things that we do is constantly run tests in order to validate findings. So when we're listening to clients and we're listening to customers, and when I say listening, I mean surveys, interviews, chat logs. We're not really getting into the specifics here today. I'm more kind of having a strategic talk, but there's so many ways to listen today in terms of just listening to the people who are your prospects and listening to your existing customers and your clients. And what we're doing is we're running different strategic A/B tests in order to validate different findings. So when we discover that there's a certain pain that people are experiencing, or there's a job that people are trying to get done. I love the jobs to be done framework. When you understand that there's a job that someone's trying to get done, testing that on your homepage, on a funnel page, on a product page, or even a landing page, to check messaging, to check the actual experience that people are going through, validate that, go back to the drawing board and share that with your entire team. You're actually being able to progress far quicker than it would be to do a complete redesign and just say, hey, we're customer driven, which is what companies love to say, which, I mean, granted, I love it. It's better than saying we're data driven, which is a different thing. But the idea of saying I'm customer driven, but then taking it to the test and not just waiting for it. And sometimes these things, as we've seen through this panel conversation, it can take years. Sometimes you don't have the person who's going to lead this, or sometimes you have the people that are leading it, but there's just so many things that come beforehand, the product and other stuff. Being able to run those small tests and validate things not only improves the customer experience on the different devices and different channels, but it also serves as a great proof for the company internally that you're in the right direction, that you're learning new things about your customers, that you understand where you need to go and how to make it happen, and not be stuck in that situation where you're like, okay, we can't do this, so we're just going to focus on adding more features to our product. So I really do think that testing in various ways is a great place to start in when you're thinking about how can I take all these great ideas and great strategies that you're talking about here today, but actually implement them. And that's to run those small tests on different pages and different emails, reach out to your clients, do those interviews, do those surveys, and then test them and see what happens.
Yeah, so it's thinking and do, right? Johan, how else can we do? How do we deliver that excellent customer experience?
Well, I can totally agree with all the points before. Just to add, don't overcomplicate things. That's also what I meant before with technology. It's not always that a technology is already ready right away to deliver the best customer experience. Sometimes it has to develop further. Sometimes you have to find just the right moment, and sometimes it's really the human touch. Like, for example, we have in Munich here a big startup conference, one of the biggest worldwide, where Sir Richard Branson is always coming, and it's huge. It's during the Oktoberfest, and the most touching touch points of what people always keep in mind is that the founders of the conference, who are very successful, and then they're always sitting with Richard Branson and so on, they're always welcoming people with a personal handshake. Yeah. So they're taking this time, they're blocking this time, and they're saying, how are you doing? And they're really interested in that. And for sure, due to their schedule, it's very, very tough to organize that, but they're doing it. And that's what people keep in mind and what they are very, very proud of. Yeah. So that's not technology driven. That's really, really personal, face-to-face, and organizing it in the end.
Very human, very personal.
Yes. And one quick thing to add is challenge also existing KPIs, because quite often the KPIs are not focused on the customer. They're more focused in terms of saving money, being efficient, and so on. That's different thinking. Yeah. You can combine two things. You can combine that probably in the future, but you have to challenge it that it doesn't block. For example, if the customer service that you have is only measured by the question is what is it measured on? Is it measured by how many people do you treat per day? How many people do you lose, and so on? That's all interesting. But a very key point is how many people in the end what a percentage of people were we able to make happy, and how much time does it take? That's a key factor.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So should we ditch the tech completely? Do we need tech? Let's get into question number 4. What is the role of technology in the customer experience? Which we'll get into detail quickly, but let's do a quick poll as well for number 4. We'd love to hear what the audience is thinking. And actually, just before that, do we have any other views about how to deliver an excellent digital experience from the audience? Does anybody else want to sort of let us know what you think? Any dissenting views? Everybody seems to be agreeing with all of us, but is there something that somebody disagrees with? And if not, that's okay too. All right. Well, if you do, please ask your question at the end, and we'll get to that as well. So how's the role? Let me just put that out there. How is the role of technology changing in customer experience? So click the button that you want. Technology is not so important. Technology makes a negative impact. It's absolutely needed. I'm not really concerned. So we could do it all without it, is what we're saying. All right. And it's cool to see we've got technology makes a negative impact. It certainly can. I mean, when you think about it, there are some companies that's all they rely on is the technology. And I personally feel that they're missing that sort of human side. We have to kind of balance it. What do you guys think? How do we get this rolling here?
I think we're missing the answer of technology works with everything else. It amplifies, it helps us get to the details, the data that we need. It helps us reach people, but it's a tool that we use. It's not the most important thing, but it is a way to bridge so many gaps, whether if it's between collecting data and research and information, or whether we're serving something thanks to everything that we've learned in order to improve our customer experience. But I don't think it's the only thing. I think it works. I mean, it has to be part of everything that we do. And again, like having that human point is probably more important, and learning how to utilize technology correctly.
Aren't robots going to take all of our jobs? No.
Well, David Bancos is here. Probably he's going to say yes. but yeah, I think if you analyze the stats from the last years, 9 out of 10 digital transformation initiatives are failing, and one of the reasons is because they are really technology oriented. So yeah, as Talia was mentioning, it's fundamental that CX has an important crucial role for the succeed of these initiatives. How technology affect CX? I think in so many ways. We've been talking about all of them during the webinar. But we can anticipate the engagement. We can expand the number of consumer touch points. We can scale the experience. We can scale culture. We can learn and improve with the testing that we were mentioning and Talia was reinforcing. We can be there in evolutive conversation. So technology is adding a lot of value to customer experience, and we are jumping from a niche to a fundamental piece on the game. That's why I think this combination is really powerful. And one needs the other to succeed. So I think it's a combination between both.
That's good. What do you think, Jonas?
The other day.
I mean, I think you can't live without technology and customer experience. Be it in your ability to listen to what's going on out there. You need to gather some data, some inputs, and maybe even profiling your customers, being able to know them better. So that's definitely important. Again, constantly figuring out where to use technology to remove friction points and to add value. It's constantly developing. So I think it will constantly have an impact on customer experience. So just there's, for instance, let's say there's in a call center today, you can buy a software called Cogito, for instance, that is your own little robot coach that will coach the person, delivering a better service experience because it listens in and coaches you on what to do now and what to do next. And I think that's I think that's where AI is going right now. It's got just being implemented in our everyday lives, also in our ability to deliver a better customer experience. And it will have a role to play, and maybe an increasing role to play. But still, I mean, there's still a room for delivering a personal experience that will come from the human side, the empathy, and all these things that we can deliver, solving problems when technology can't solve it, and so on.
So Talia, is there like a line where we have to balance this? You talked about that earlier. Like, is it 80% technology and 20% humanness, or 50-50? Like, what do you think?
I don't know about percentages, but I think I'll give you a number there. Sorry,
Yeah.
but
I'm a numbers
specifically,
person.
but no, so am I. But then I just whatever. But but specifically, what I think is most important is that whatever we're using the technology for, whether if it's to collect data or if it's to serve a better experience, as Jonas just said, at the end of the day, we need to feed it with the human part of it. And that means that whatever we're asking, whatever it is that we're doing in terms of research, then that is fueled by the emotion, by empathy, by everything that we're trying to learn about our customer from a human point of view, which means that if we're trying to run a survey, then we may use technology to make it easier for people to answer surveys. Or if we're trying to run interviews, or if we're doing chat and we're trying to go through that, we can use technology to do that. And if we're trying to serve a better experience through technology, then at the end of the day, the point is that we're using our emotions and our empathy and really getting to know people on an emotional level, and using technology to make people feel that, to get it out to more people, to make sure that it's distributed correctly, to be able to get to more people, and so on. But it's not it's not what we're leading with, and it's not the main point that we're trying to get through.
Fantastic. Johannes, what about yourself? How is the role changing, or is it changing?
Yes. Wait, am I on? Okay.
Yeah,
Wait.
you're on.
Um,
You're
well,
live around the world.
all around the world, even in Australia. dear
Even
listeners.
Australia.
How are they doing in Australia, by the way?
G'day,
Oh,
mate.
hey, cool.
How's that? How's my accent going? G'day,
Hey,
mate.
it's awesome. Yeah. We need to fly to get with Scandinavian Airlines to next time. You and
Yeah,
me.
I was gonna say a friend of mine flies for SAS, so
Cool.
might have to connect you with him. But
Why I build a methodology, and Talia knows that 3 years ago I was building it up basically on what Simon Sinek said with start with a why, and I went deeper, and I basically created start with what for. What do you use it for? Yeah, and so which is also actually the answer to purpose. Yeah, because if you understand these are tools. And what do you use it for? You use them wisely. It makes sense, or it doesn't make sense in the end. Yeah, and that's something people really need to digest and need to think through in the end, because special effects don't help.
yeah, you can't just dazzle them with brilliance, right? You have to have a good foundation to actually be able to deliver. All right, cool. Well, let's wrap things up then. Really want to sort of thank everybody for coming. We're going to turn on to question and answer for a few minutes as well, if we do have any. But just a quick lightning round before we go. I know a few of you have to log off, so feel free to do so after. But I'd love to hear sort of your final point to our panel, and then how we can get in touch with you. So Talia, would you like to start?
Well, I guess my final point would be that something super basic is that at the end of the day, people buy better versions of themselves. And we don't buy features, we don't buy products, we don't buy pricing. That may be part of the reason, and it may be decision-making parts when we're very far into the customer journey. But at the end of the day, we want to buy from humans. We want to buy from people that we can relate to, that we have a relationship with, and that can help us become better versions of ourselves, better parents, better marketers, whatever it is that we're set out to do by using the solution. And when you're thinking about your experience and what you are creating, I think the most important question to ask yourself is not what is my goal as a company, but what is my customer's goal? Because only when your customers achieve their goals do you achieve your own. And that, I think, is where you want to start with asking that. So that would be my final note.
Thank you. And how do we get in touch with you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Talia GW, or on my website, getuplift.co. I have lots of stuff that you can read there about psychology and emotion.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. Jonas, your final point, lightning round, and how can we get in touch with you?
Yeah, okay. I think the most important thing to remember is that instead of asking yourself what is the return on investment when you do these kind of things, and ask yourself what's the return on the experiences we give for our customers. Because if you don't give a great experience, people, you will most likely don't have a great return on investment in the longer run. So I think that's my final comment today. And if you want to get hold of me, you can follow me on Twitter. It's Bladt, BLADT 77. So now I revealed how old I am. And then you can follow me on LinkedIn as well, if you like.
Perfect. Johannes, you're next, and then we'll close with Xavier.
Yeah, I think to wrap it up, and I want to basically also reconnect it to where we stand with COVID right now, in terms of the lockdown, and a lot of companies are still silent right now. There's a key question that the management has to answer, and I connect this question back to what I had at the beginning, and I always have to remind people that the progress that we have in terms of developing products and companies is getting, yes, more and more technological, but that is technology which is used for actually to connect with people, and is a tool in the end to deliver value. Yeah, and that means also in the end, it's a decision whether you use these tools to create a value, whether you build your company around people or you just talk about people. Yeah, and there's so many experiences, so many. This thing about customers has been going on for such a long time, but it only works if you have someone sitting up there and says, this makes sense, and this is the decision you have to make. And if you don't make it, you will have huge problems.
Perfect. Thank you. And how do we get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can find me LinkedIn, on Twitter, and go to, as we had before, use my podcast, ourjobtobedone.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And Xavier, you want to give your final thought, and then we'll get into the Q&As.
Yeah, I think I would like to make a more human point of view, because sometimes we forget why we do things. I think this is really important, because this is the engine, this is the motor to wake up every single day. And the reality is that we are living in an era where we can do everything that we want to do. This is the reality. Technology is not a barrier anymore. I'm going to put one example. Elon Musk, that was always dreaming to go to the moon. And now 1 month ago, they did this special mission with this fantastic machine that was extraordinary. So this is the example of we can do whatever we want. And coming from the entrepreneur background, I think this is a fact. And the reality is that it's not important who you are now. It's more important who you can become, because all of us can change, it can evolve. And that's the main trigger to do whatever you're going to do. You're going to be an engineer, you're going to be in boosting, customer experience in any company. It doesn't matter. At the end, what really matters is why how you do what you do. And I think this is my main insight. And this applies to every single discipline. To find me, I think the main channel is LinkedIn, because I'm Xavier Cortadellas, Xavier Cortadellas. So you can find me on LinkedIn. Soon we will announce new channels that we are going to start putting in place with Keenfolsk and with Miguel Machado. So thank you.
Yeah, looking forward to that. All right. So thank you so much. If you're watching this live or replay, please like, share, comment. We'd love to hear from you in the future as well. And we'll answer them as well. #replay, #the digital gap as well, so that we can actually find your questions and comments. So without further ado, love to thank everybody, thank our panel. We do want to go with Q&A, but I'm going to turn off live now. And then